34b, I believe it was. 34. I'll make sure for you, Stan. 34. Oh, I remember this one backwards. This goes backwards. So we're going to start in the Ashko on 34b4. Right? Let me just make sure. Yeah. And it's going to be 34b4, and it's on the last paragraph, which starts, and another thing can happen concerning Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. You have that right here? Okay. Right. Okay. Last week, if you remember, we learned about Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa that the Mishnah had said about him that whenever he davened, he knew whether, for a sick person, he knew whether or not the person would recover based upon whether or not the prayer was shagor bepiv, whether it came out fluently or not. Was there a stutter, if you will, in the prayer? And now we come to the second. We dealt with the first story where he davened on behalf of Rabbi Gamliel's son, and the son recovered at the time he davened, and it was miraculous. So then we come to the second story. And the second story is like this. So it says, Shuv Ma'aseh Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. There's another story about Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. Shahalach, I can go from here so I can see what you're saying. Shahalach L'mod Torah Eitzel Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. What happened was he went to learn Torah by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Oh, you don't have those words, do you? That's interesting. Okay. It's interesting. Ashkol doesn't have the words that are in the Ein Yaakov.
That happened.
That happens many times already. I don't know why. So
there's the Ein Yaakov. He's picking up another Brycer, so he's adding something and he picked up from someplace else.
He's not adding anything. This must be a text. It's interesting. It has the basic story, but I'm sorry. It is there. Okay, no, it is there. Now I see it. Yeah. I was up online. Okay. So v'chala benosha Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, and what happened was the son of Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai got sick. So Amalo, Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai said to Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, Chanina beni, Chanina my son, bikesh alav rachamim v'yichyeh. Seek divine mercy for him, the son, that he might live. So what happened? He niyach rosho ben birkav. Chanina lay his head between his knees. Ubikesh alav rachamim, and he requested or sought divine mercy upon him. V'chaya, and the son lived. So Amar Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. So Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Ilmale hitiach ben Zakkai et rosho ben perkav kol hayom kulo. Even had I myself stuck. He's actually saying in third person. If had Ben Zakkai stuck his head between his knees all day long, they would not have paid any attention to him in the heavenly court. Okay, so here you have Chanina ben Dosa, who is told to daven on behalf of Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai's son. Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, let's not forget who he is. Without Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, it says the Torah would have been lost. He's the one who gave it to the 5 Talmidim in Pirkei Avot, and so on and so forth. So he's a very important character in the annals of history. A very big tzaddik. So you would think, wait a second, if he's such a big tzaddik, then he should daven on his son's behalf, right? That would make sense. It says, and I'll even give you more. When a person is sick, who does Hashem listen to more? The sick person davening for himself, or somebody else davening for the sick person? Who would you say?
I would say somebody else davening for the sick person.
Oh, so that's one opinion. I just want you to know that. That's one opinion. But the other opinion which we learn from the story of Yishmael is that Hashem wants that person to daven because he listens to him first.
Oh.
Because it says when in that story of Yishmael, when Yishmael is dying, the mother throws him down under the bushes, as it were, and she walks away, and then Hashem says, "I heard the boy where he is there." Gashehu Sham. And so the rabbis learn from there that if a person is sick and he davens, Hashem listens to him first. There's another opinion, though, that we learned before in this very class, that if a person is sick, he can't, davening for himself is not good enough, because it's like a person who is captive in a jail, and somebody who's captured in a jail can't release himself. He needs somebody else to do that. So that would be why I wouldn't, if a person should ask others to daven on their behalf. At the same time, there's a tension there, you have to daven for yourself too. But that wouldn't answer this case, because Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai is neither the person who's sick, is his son who is sick. So why go to somebody else? Okay. He can daven on the son's behalf too. That's the first question you have to ask. So what happens? What happens? So he says that statement that if he had davened the whole day, nothing would have happened. So Amra lo ishto, his wife said to him, "V'chi Chanina gadol mimcha." So is Chanina then greater than you? Come on, he's coming to learn Torah from you. A greater person doesn't go to a lesser person to learn Torah. It doesn't make sense. If I have a doctorate in something, I'm not going to go to my first grade teacher and say, "So teach me something." Or even more, I'm not going to even go to my professor who doesn't know as much as I do on that particular subject. Because the whole thing of a doctorate is I know more than the person I'm learning from. I did more research. So that person really shouldn't know what I know. So if that's the case, Chanina ben Dos is coming to learn Torah by you. So how can it be, and you're the Av Beitin, how can it be that he's greater than you? So Amrala, so he said to her, "Love, no. Elahu doma ke'eved lifnei melech." Rather, he is considered or comparable to like a slave, a servant that's before the king. Vani doma kesar lifnei melech, and I'm considered like an important officer before the king. What's the difference? The servant is always with the king. The officers, only coming for important matters. Okay, and so the ArtScroll wants to say like this, that Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai was a prince and a leader of the Jewish people. His position was like that of a great minister of state who was too deeply involved in the great issues of the day to discuss personal matters with the king. Just so, Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai concerned himself with the leading the people and disseminating Torah rather than praying on behalf of sick individuals. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, on the other hand, though Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is inferior in Torah learning, devoted his life to praying for individuals. Therefore, his prayers are more readily answered. Alternatively, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai responded that Rabbi Chanina was more worthy to have his prayers answered because of his modesty, because he saw himself as a slave before Hashem, whereas Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, in his capacity as leader of the generation, saw himself as a high officer of God. So one is an interesting way to look at it. I just want to do the Maharsha, which is also similar to the Kotev. Probably the Kotev got a little bit from the Maharsha. He says, what's going on? He says, "L'f'amim tefillah acherim la'adam mo'elo yotim tefillah atzon." There are times that other people's prayers will be more helpful than the individual praying on his own behalf. Sometimes, not all the time. In other words, and since we don't know, by the way, when it's going to be, we always have to pray on our own behalf. God forbid somebody's sick. One should never rely upon the other person's prayer. One should always put in the personal request that he is healed up. And then others can pray on their behalf. Fine. But it never should be, I'm not holy enough to pray. So, and then it says, and that's why we say, when a person was saying others should pray on this person's behalf, is because that a person imprisoned cannot release himself from the prison. And the example would be, by the way, Pollard. You have, what's his first name?
Jonathan
Pollard. Jonathan Pollard has been in prison for since I was a young boy already. So he,
over 20 years.
Yeah, clearly I was still in Stoughton, so much more than 20 years.
Oh.
We're going probably for 30, 40 years at this point. I can't imagine being less, because like I said, I didn't have smicha yet. So this
really?
is
That long? You talked about it in the 80s?
Early 80s.
I don't remember anymore. Yeah. Wow.
Early 80s. I remember because I was riding my bike, so it was. It had to be early 80s that he was in prison. So he's been in jail for a very, very long time, and I'm sure he's put his davening in. And more than that, many rabbis have signed document after document after document. He's gone through more presidents who refused to pardon him, and so on and so forth. But that's an example of you can daven all you want for yourself, but you need others on your, and even with that, sometimes you don't get out. Like I said, using him as a poster boy for not getting out.
Sorry, question.
Yeah.
What did Pollard do?
He spied. What was it? He spied for Israel. American citizen who spied for Israel by getting stuff from.
He was in the Navy. He was an officer in the Navy or something.
I think it was for a trader. The espionage for Israel.
They got him for espionage.
Espionage.
With a friendly nation.
Right,
I mean,
right.
The whole thing was crazy.
So right,
Yeah.
and by the way, the fact of the matter is he was guilty. I'm not saying he wasn't guilty.
Yeah.
I think he even pleaded guilty. What the difference between Pollard and everybody else is anybody else who was found guilty on those charges were released after 5 to 7 years.
Guy's been in jail.
So
for
this
30
guy
years?
has been. So the claim that they have is beyond the normal amount of imprisonment time, and that's really what they're not arguing that he's guilty. He said he's guilty, so we have to accept that he's guilty. And I'm not fighting one way or another for. I'm just saying that using him as the example, he actually comes from here. His father was a teacher in Notre Dame, I was told. Yeah, it comes from South Bend, yeah. And so, like I said, the father was a professor. The father recently passed away, and he obviously could not get to that funeral. But it was a really big thing I think it was the 80s that it happened. It was a real big thing that this guy was caught, and like I said, pleaded guilty, and there's a whole Mishigas that's been going for the past 30, 40 years or so I don't know. No, it can't be 40 years, but 30 years.
Something close to that, 30.
Right. Okay, but that's who he is. So he says, and therefore, Yitzchak mitpalel Rivka. That's why Yitzchak davened for Rivka. And what happens? It says, Vayirtu lo Hashem. Lo, v'lo. It says Hashem listened to him and not to her, because she was the one who needed the recovery, because she was not getting pregnant. So Yitzchak davened on her behalf, and she got pregnant. So there also is interesting, because the Maharsha is ignoring another midrash. Why did Hashem listen to Yitzchak more than Rivka? You remember, Yigal? Remember the famous question: why did Hashem listen to Yitzchak? Right, because he was a tzaddik ben tzaddik. Yaakov was a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik, and she was a tzaddiket, the daughter of a rasha. So I'm going to listen. So Hashem is going to listen to the tzaddik ben tzaddik, the son of the tzaddik, more than the tzaddiket, the daughter of the wicked. That's how Chazal see that. The Maharsha is using it the other way. He's saying, well, how do we know that an individual should daven on behalf of somebody else because that person is not powerful enough to take him out? So we learn that from Yitzchak. So it's interesting how that one line can be taken two ways. Hashem listened to him. Why him? Him and not her, because he was the one who could pull her out of jail, as it were. That's one explanation. The other one is because he was a tzaddik ben tzaddik. So it's interesting when you juxtapose those two reasons. When you're reading the Maharsha, you have to say, why did he pick one versus the other? Okay, that I can't answer. But it's just an interesting thing. So he says, V'yefshar hu ikar tama shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And he says, perhaps this is the main reason for Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and Rabban Gamliel. And that's in the matter of them sending or asking Rabbi Chanina levakesh rachamim, so that he should request compassion for these sick people. Because they would be answered. They would be answered through his prayer and through his humility. To Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Sha'ama ilma lehitia ben Zakkai, because of what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, if it was me who was asking, Hashem would not have listened. And that's why his wife said to him, is Chanina greater? Because she did not understand the main reason for his main reason for asking. This is also interesting, what the Maharsha's language. So that's why he answered her according to her level of understanding. To her, we always want, and this is an interesting lesson how to teach somebody. You never speak above them. You never speak below them. You always speak to wherever they're holding. You always want to try to hit the strike zone of where they would be holding. So the data, according to her understanding, he answered her with this parable about he is comparable to a servant while uncomparable to the officer. Compares Rashi, like Rashi explained, Ke'eved haragil tamid li'o karov lo lebeito, like the servant who's constantly around him in his house. Ken haya Rabbi Chanina, that is also the case of Rabbi Chanina. He was ragil tamid beit Hashem lepel fanav al ha'ma'orot shal briot, because Rabbi Chanina was always used to being, as it were, in Hashem's house, and he was always praying on behalf of the bad things that happened to people. Masha ein kain Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, which is not the case. Or Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who kisar lifnei melech. He was like the officer before the king. She'en haragil bebeit hamelech, which means he's not normally there in the house of the king. V'gam ketshetsarich lelech lifnei hamelech, and also when he needs to go before the king, levakesh davar, to request something, amash lavadav lahaviu lifnei hamelech, vakesh love, and when he needs to bring something that his servants needed to be brought before the king, that's when he would go. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, when he would be dealing with the matters of the congregation, right? So he was necessary to teach Torah in that generation. He was also the Av Beitin. So he didn't have the time to just daven on everybody's behalf. In other words, think about that. Here I am. I can either be the Eved Hashem, which is an interesting thing. If I'm the Eved Hashem, I'm constantly in Hashem's presence, as it were. I'm dealing with the needs of the individual. As compared to the Sar, the officer, I'm the manager of the whole place. I don't always go to the boss. I'm running the organization. So what happens is, when it becomes important, so then I have to go. But as a result of that, think about it, I have a different, even though I'm higher than the Eved, I'm really higher than the Eved, in matters I'm lower than him, because I don't have that constant contact. Yeah. So it's an interesting situation, what he's presenting with this parable. That the higher I get, sometimes the further away I get.
But you're saying you're operating on your own. You have your own control over it.
Right, so I have to deal with my people, and therefore, when it becomes important, I go to you. But when it does become important, so you expect me to handle it. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes the manager, it becomes further removed than the simple worker. Simple worker has constant contact with the boss. The manager, the boss is saying, if the manager would come to the boss every 2 seconds and say, well, what do you want me to do now? He would say to him, you're worthless to me. I want you to run the place. I don't want you to come to me every 2 seconds. If it's a big thing, come to me. Otherwise, manage your part. You're the manager. Okay, so that's, like I said, it's a very interesting concept there. Okay. Now let's go on. Next part, well, it'll be I don't think I'll finish it today, so we'll start it. So it says, and now you have to go back. Stan, you have to go back. I don't know why the Gemara works this way here, but you have to go back to, it was, where was it? Wait. Maybe you don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought I did. I saw where you are. I saw this backwards. Only in your book I saw this. I mean, only this thing. For some reason, here it is. You just go back to 34b3, and it's a third teaching. 34b3, just one page back. And it's the second side. It says the third teaching. One more page. That way. Third teaching? Yeah? Okay. So it says like this. Am Rav Chia bar Ava. Am Rav Yochanan. Rav Chia, the son of Abba, said to Rav Yochanan, Kol hanavim kulam. All the prophets, lo nidnabu el leba'alei teshuva, they only prophesied, and Rashi says, hatova v'nachamot, for the good and the consolations, for Baalei Teshuva. Amazing statement. They only did it for the people who were masters of return. But when it came of Aval Tzaddikim Gemorim, but when it came to the complete Tzaddikim, people who never went off the derech, never left halacha and Hashem, it says, Ayin lo ra'ata Elokim zulatcha, that the no eye except yours, Hashem, has seen. So what he's saying is the only people that these prophets are prophesying for, the Messi is the what do you call it? The Baalei Teshuva, but not for the Tzaddikim Gemorim. So the Art Scroll says like this, and he has a whole long thing. So that's what I say. I don't think I'll finish everything. There's stuff here I want to get to, but let's get an understanding of what's going on here. He said the book of the prophets contain many descriptions of a utopian reward for the Jewish people. Rabbi Yochanan maintains that these prophecies refer to the Messianic era. They cannot refer to the world to come, because the reward of the world to come was never revealed to any prophet due to its infinite nature. Okay, that's number one. So if I speak about this actually tonight in the Derech Hashem, where there's two worlds we're dealing with. One is the Messianic era, which in Yisrael Hashem we're going to enter today or tomorrow, whenever the Mashiach decides to come. I think it's a deadline, according to the internet, of Rosh Hashanah this year. So that's it. So it doesn't matter whether the high school will open.
My neighbor was talking about
Say it again?
Your neighbor was talking about
so it doesn't matter that the Mashiach is coming. Our Mashiach or their Mashiach? Their Mashiach has been coming every year. They're worse than us.
He said Rosh Hashanah this year.
Huh?
He said Jewish New Year. He said what he's talking about.
Oh, good. Yeah. So everybody's holding by that. No, it's true. Rabbi, the sister of Rabbi Kanievsky, I think it was, said that her brother met the Mashiach, and he said he's going to come before the year is up. He's ready. He's going to come.
So where are they getting this from?
I don't know where they're getting it I'm ready for it though. So that means I'll save a lot of tuition money. I have no problem. No problem. Since he's coming in Rosh Hashanah, by that point my pool will be closed anyway. So it's no problem. I'm all set. I'm all set on all sides. I wish we would come before Tisha B'Av, but okay.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Okay. Actually, before Shiva Atzma Tammuz.
Yes.
Why should I go through any fast? But anyway, so that's what's going on. So Rishonim dispute the meaning of the term world to come. In the context of our Gemara, according to Rambam, our Gemara refers to the spiritual realm where the soul receives its reward after death. The Ramban, however, understands this term to refer to the eternal state of Techiyat HaMetim, the resurrection of the dead, which will follow the Messianic era. The Rambam writes, a human being does not have the capacity to properly comprehend the goodness of the world to come. No one knows its glory, beauty, and potency except Hashem himself. All the benefits that the prophets predicted for Israel are only physical matters, which the Jewish people will enjoy in the Messianic era when their sovereignty will be restored. The goodness of the life of the world to come is immeasurable and utterly beyond comprehension. The prophets did not describe it by means of analogy, lest they cheapen it by doing so. So the sages said, all the prophets prophesied only about the Messianic era, but as for the world to come, no eye except yours has seen. Okay, so we're getting into this whole concept of what's going to happen, who, and like I said, we won't be able to finish it, who is Shem, who are the prophets prophesying for? Is it just the Balei Tshuva? And if so, why them particularly? Or is it for the Tzaddikim Gemorim? And again, if it's not for them, why aren't they included? What's going on there? And all those questions, God willing, in 2 weeks, I won't be here next week, so in 2 weeks, we'll get those answers. Any questions?
Yeah.
Mashiach will be here before then. If Mashiach comes, you'll have to wait for the answer to.